Tuesday, March 20th at 5:30 for our regular Board of Trustees scheduled meeting.
Call the roll. Mr. Genowine.
Here.
Mr. Crandall.
Here.
Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Simcoe. Here.
All right, we'll stand for a pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any, I'll make a motion to approve February 20th special meeting. Second.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes. And then we have the swearing of the oath of Chief Paul Long. So congratulations, Paul.
Thanks.
You've got your cheat sheet, and I've got mine. So, all right. Where do I go? I'll come right here. Center. I'm glad we found something that fits you too.
You gotta take the arms off of those if I gotta sit.
All right.
I'll look at my cheat sheet.
Now I'm gonna look at mine.
Okay.
All right. I state your name.
Paul Long,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm that I
I
will support the Constitution of the United States of America
will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio
and the laws and ordinances of the Township of Sylvania,
and the laws and ordinances of the Township of Sylvania,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of police officer and constable to the best of my ability. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the whole department that showed up, man. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Hey, Paul, not to sound weird or anything, but just because formality, you gotta come up and shake our hand.
I'm not good at this stuff.
All right, one more time. Congrats. Yeah, all right.
That's right. I did come find that time.
All right. Yeah. And I see the families here. Did you guys want a picture at all with the families while you're here, Paul?
You got some.
Huh? Nancy, can you do that?
Nancy's gonna send her to her, so we're good?
Oh, we may take a picture of your whole family.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Slide over here.
Where do you want me? You're in the middle.
Throw you in the middle there. Here, I'll stand behind her, you don't see me. As you can see, I've grown big. Hey,
All right, well, for your friends and fellow workers, I'd love for you to stay, but you're more than welcome to leave. Now's a good time.
I'm staying.
You're staying. Yeah.
Scott. Yeah. Tomorrow. Okay. No problem. It's gonna be here. I'll be here.
All right, maybe I'll shut that door. He's coming. Oh, that's okay.
I'll get the door.
All right, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have one. I'm not sure about the open discussion regarding Sajar. We passed a resolution back in July of last year saying the township is satisfied and no further resources of the township would be used to continue or reduce.
I'd like to bring up the subject matter for discussion. We don't have to utilize any resources on it, but I thought we'd bring it up for discussion.
I'll briefly allow it based on...
Just gotta say, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the agenda.
Well, I'll briefly allow it based on our legal counsel's opinion of the emails that we received from them this week about the position and the potential lawsuits that may occur as a result of our activities.
I just wanted
So,
to,
we'll keep moving
this
here.
is not a township.
It's not, but we're gonna end it here tonight, John, because our legal counsel told us we have to. Okay, so let's get to
Zoning.
zoning. Hi, Darrell.
Good evening. The first item I have tonight is the monthly report for February for the zoning department. Permits were up last month, 36.4% number of permits and 20.5% on estimated dollar value of permits. Year to date, that is a 6.8% decrease in number and 17.3% decrease in estimated value. Single-family dwellings, we continue to have a good year. We're at, through the end of February, 26 permits have been issued. That's a 44% increase over last year, and an estimated value of $6.8 million. That's just over a 7% increase. The estimated value per dwelling is just under $262,000, and that is down from last year 25%, although if you look at the previous years, it is pretty much in line with those years. Seems like last year, for whatever reason, was a bit of an anomaly. Zoning complaints has been light so far this year, which is a good thing. We had 6 complaints last month, and we're at 12 year-to-date. Monthly meetings for the zoning department, the BZA did not meet. There was no items on the agenda. The zoning commission had zone change requests and the text amendment that the trustees heard at the last meeting, and we had no project plan review. The items of note, I'll let you read those over at your convenience, but I just want to point out a couple things. Renaissance Place, 6036 Renaissance Place, they've submitted plans for a 3,900 square foot office building. That will be reviewed in March, in April, end of April. And then 3621 McCord Road, that is the 1.4 acre parcel just north of the bike trail. They are going for a zone change to R1 residential to split that into 4 single-family lots. That will be before the Lucas County Plan Commission, March 28th, Sylvania Township Zoning Commission, April 11th, and tentatively before the trustees, that'll be early May. And then we'll also have 2 other zone changes on King Road, the last 2 parcels that Mercy did not acquire when they built the hospital on King and Central originally. Those last 2 houses on the east side of King Road, they are acquiring those and wish to change the zoning there to C2 General Commercial. And that's all I have for the monthly report, unless there's any questions.
Darrell, how many complaints did we have this past month? 12 or 6? I can't write it down.
For February, there was 6.
6.
12 year-to-date.
Okay. How do we follow up on a complaint?
Generally, well, it depends on how we got it. If they emailed them, we'll email them back. If they call us, we'll call them back.
Okay. I was talking to a resident in the audience here tonight who filed a complaint last June. You verified that it was a legitimate complaint, and yet nothing has been done since last June. I mean, how do we follow up on it? Is there a system in there that you can check off that this has been resolved, or or what's Dean's line of work, or how is this happening? Because I don't understand how for, 8 months or so, that nothing has changed.
If you can give me the address, I can, or if the
Why don't you step
president
up?
give me the address, I can look it up and
Okay.
see what he...
He has the complaint and the email that you sent back validating his concerns and stuff, and having a part-time person in there should have relieved this, and I'm a little disappointed that it hasn't. So, I'd like to know what the process is from here forward. You know, do they follow up every 30 days, every 90 days? Do we send them letters? What is our process, and get that in writing? And
Yeah, without knowing the address, I don't know what the situation was, whether there was a zoning violation, or if it was corrected, or
Okay.
what, but I can...
do you want to speak now? He signed in under non-agenda items. Why don't you come up? And then you can give your information to Daryl, and he can follow up with you tomorrow.
My name is Bill Taransky. I live at 8030 West Bancroft. And I think it was June 7th or 8th, I came to the office here and talked to, I think it was the assistant, and I filled out a complaint form. And I hadn't heard nothing back all summer. There's been no progress on anything done over on the property. And I came back on November the 8th, and he printed out this violation screen print. And when he was reading it, he says, I don't believe there's been a follow-up to this.
And that was in November?
And that was November the 8th.
Still nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. I didn't follow it up in the wintertime because I didn't expect anybody to go out there to 0 weather and start cleaning up. But there's probably 7, 8 cars there, farm equipment, 55-gallon drums, tons of metal, general debris, is overgrown. It's just amazing what has accumulated over there over the years.
You might have been too busy picking up signs, huh, Daryl?
Hold on,
Let's get that.
we're not gonna start the moving here. Bill, what I will say is, I'm sorry that you didn't have a chance, we may have let slip this through the cracks. We handle a lot of enforcements. This is the first I've heard a complaint against Daryl in a long, long time. So to keep us sharp and keep Daryl sharp, we need to hear.
Well, that's what I asked for the process.
We're not threatening, we're not letting Daryl be the brunt of this without fully figuring out where we actually may have dropped the ball at.
I'm not putting the blame on Darrell or anything,
But Mr. Genowine.
I wasn't. I want to know what the process is, Neil. I mean, we've got a guy who does this nothing but for us part-time, and we hired him within the last year, and it's disappointing that this stuff slips through the cracks.
well, wait a minute. And I didn't know the process. I didn't know if there would be a phone, because I came here and did it in person. They took my phone number and stuff. I didn't know what the process was, if they was going to contact me with any progress, or if it was just going to happen. I didn't know what the procedures were.
We'll get to the bottom of it.
Sure.
I think you have a good point, but John, are you back there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think John should give us a report. I've noticed lack of follow-up on subdivision requirements, checking site plans. I've had conversations with John, but I think your suggestion of a policy, certainly within 60 days, but I think John, Darrell should get together and give us a
I think it's a
short,
good idea.
Thank you.
but I don't want this to fall on wrong. We should be following up. And also, would you include subdivision, site plans in that? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
I'll follow up on and see what, so you're at 8:30.
I'm at 8:30, yes.
You said I can.
Sure. I got plenty of it.
All right, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Can you have your phone number?
841.
Actually, the phone's on, if you don't want that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
it?
very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for hearing me.
Any other questions on the monthly report?
No.
I'm surprised you asked. Thanks, Darrell.
Okay, my next item is an amendment to the PUD for Adirondack Village. August of last year, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved this PUD, or approved the zone change request to a PUD for villa-style multifamily development on 7 acres. Section 2002 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution states a maximum of 40% of gross parcel acreage shall be devoted to coverage by buildings, structures, street, driveway, or parking. As part of the board's approval of the PUD, a waiver of this requirement was granted to allow 43.8% coverage. This current request for an amendment to the PUD is to allow for 49.5% coverage of the gross parcel acreage. The applicant contends that an error in calculations discovered while working on the design plans and that the dimensions of the driveways had not been included in the original site plan calculations. Everything else in the original approved PUD remains the same as far as setbacks, building footprints, number of buildings, number of units, open space, street layout, etc. Staff recommends approval of the requested amendment to the previously approved PUD as there is no change to the original approved layout. And I have Resolution 18032 for the resolution to approve amendment to previously approved PUD for Adirondack Village.
This is unfortunate, but we did require a landscaping plan. I don't think that's been submitted. But you did submit a preliminary one for our approval. I should say it's not approved yet, but you did submit. And I think you had something about subject to change, and I'm okay with that. I was glad to see you're putting up a stockade fence. That would have been my suggestion. That site got pretty cleared, as we all know. And so I'm okay with this resolution, subject to approval of your landscape plan. And that's one of the things, John, I've suggested to you, is that I think we should have the responsibility of approving those site plans. Nobody looks, to my knowledge, to the landscape plan, and I think we should be doing that.
Thanks, John. Greg Feller, Finch & Associates, 1683 Williams Drive. You're correct, yeah, we do need to submit, it's really loud. We do need to submit a landscape plan. We have a landscape plan here.
I think there's a note, though, subject to adjustment, and that's okay.
Yeah, well, the one we
I just want to
submitted.
be sure
Yeah,
that
the plan we submitted.
and we're checking it.
Yeah, the plan we submitted with the preliminary, it was preliminary, you just kind of thought, this is an actual, so Denny hired a landscape architect, we've got an actual landscape plan here. This landscape plan will be submitted when we submit the detailed construction plans for review by the township and the county and everybody. And I just want to point out that, as part of this landscape plan, we're showing landscaping to the south, obviously a fence and then some trees and whatnot to Carytown. The code calls for plantings to be a minimum of 4 foot tall at the time of planting. Our landscape plan calls out for plantings between 6 and 8 foot tall. So Denny's going to spend a little bit of money and buy some trees that are a little bit taller. The reason for that is just to kind of accelerate the growth. So obviously, instead of putting tiny little trees in, we're going to put in trees that offer, a couple years further down the maturity road, so.
And I know Denny's been good with the neighbors.
Yeah, he's been working with them, and I believe there's some representatives here if you have questions for them, but, it was unfortunate, it was just an error on our part. We submitted everything, and then we started working on the plans and did our calculations again, and we found the error, like, what happened? The buildings were the same, the road's the same, the setbacks are the same, open space is the same, we couldn't figure it out. Then we discovered that we just forgot to we calculated it, we just forgot to put it in the number, so. But like Darrell said, nothing on the layout changed from what was approved. Building setbacks, building sizes, number of units, it's all the
I
same.
know Darrell tried to work with you on that, but that's okay.
And I apologize, it was our fault.
I'll move resolution 18030.
Do the residents or the neighboring,
Anybody would like to speak that sign in? Sammy, can I get the sign-in sheet, please?
or I know we've got the neighborhood association representative here, if you wanted to get up and say that, I know there was a meeting held, do you want to tell us how that meeting went, or?
Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, My name is Craig Covette. I'm the spokesman for Carytown East, and my wife and I live on Page Lindsay, which is 3 villas south of this proposed development. It's on the east side of Page Lindsay. Denny did talk to me about the request to have the coverage percentage increased, and from the standpoint that because of that error, he has proposed more extensive landscaping on this proposed development. And he did share with me a copy of the landscape architect's proposals. And I'm a gardener, an amateur gardener, so I've looked at it, and it's very good. We're very pleased with it. It's better than it was before, so the residents of Carytown East are not opposed to this resolution.
Great. Hopefully Denny's engineering firm might help him out with those trees, huh?
That's what I was thinking too. As a lawyer, I thought the same thing, that since he's going to be proposing larger trees, which benefits us, and I appreciate Greg Feller's acknowledgement of an error. We don't see that too much in the world where people acknowledge their error, so I respect him for that. And but yeah, maybe they can help him out a little.
That's good.
So we have a resolution on the floor.
Yes. Mr. Crandall made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Zeline?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Great, thanks, Darrell. Hi, Rob.
Good evening. I have 2 items on the agenda. First is the monthly report for February. As you quite imagine, February is pretty much snow and ice control. We did do some pothole patrols. As noted, 256 pothole patches. The majority of those are softball size or smaller. There was some significant ones down Quarry on the north end. They're all identified and will be permanently repaired during construction season. We distributed about 6,500 gallons of brine, which is low for us that time of year, but because of the consistency of the weather, we just didn't have opportunity to. There was 6 snow and ice control events, which accumulated about 95 hours of overtime. And we distributed 900 tons of salt that month, which is quite a bit for a 1-month period for us. So there was significant events. When I say 6 events, that means it could have been 3 days of snow and ice control, but it's one event for us. We also took some opportunities to do some storm sewer repairs during some of the warm periods. We were able to upgrade some storm sewers off of T-John. And as you can see, our utility oopses are starting to pick up. We had 144 with 28 locates. The service department continues to assist us with their snow and ice control, and you can see the miscellaneous repairs as well in the typical vehicles. We did get some training in our 2 pesticide certified pesticide applicators. Went and got their recertifications, which they need to do once every 3 years. And then a couple of the mechanics were performing some training through Selking International, which is our international trucks. It's a computer software program they're using to diagnose and maintain those vehicles. Project list, page 2. Most of these haven't got started yet. Anticipate selling the OPWC project and the resurfacing project in May, which is kind of a late start for us, but because last year we were first in the gate, this year we're last. So some of the other repairs, we did some drainage improvements, like I said, in T-John, and then we did a significant log jam removal on Hill Ditch, which runs between Denison and Elmer, over there behind the Walmart area. The residents over there were pretty happy with that clean out. There were several log jams in there.
It took us about 4 days to get it all out. Other than that, that's all I have for the monthly report of February. Do you have any questions?
Is the Holt Road coming up, or is that your log jam, 10 mile?
That was completed through,
I just wanted to...
yeah, that was completed, Brian Miller, Lucas County Engineer's Office took care of that for us. He contracted out through PHC, and there's that bridge, that private bridge that goes across 10 Mile Creek there. He had that all taken care of in a matter of days. That was a significant log jam as well. That was reported to us from a resident riding his four-wheeler up and down the frozen ditch, so it was nice.
We haven't had the flooding out there recently, but we're probably due for it.
Yeah, I think the spring rains have come and we may see some rise in that, so we've been fortunate so far, the thaws. No other questions? I got a resolution 18-040, authorization to purchase a new leaf picker or leaf loader. This is the vacuum machines you see lined up out on the side of the building and we use to pick our leaves up. This would be the last year to be able to purchase this type of machine that does not have the emission controls that will be on next year's model, which will increase that by $10,000. This is that system with the DEF system. I have to put the additional liquid in there. So this is the last year we'll be able to buy one of these machines with that, without that system on it. So we're taking the opportunity to do that and trade in our oldest machine as well, or sell the oldest machine.
All out for Resolution 18-040, authorization to purchase new Dinkmar Leaf Master.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I take a second, just?
Congratulations, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
You have before you the 2018 monthly report. Really, I only have a couple of things I wanted to point out. My ugly mug was on the front page. My 23-year anniversary came up for full time, and in the same week, I had my 37-year anniversary of being here on the fire department, so had to put my ugly mug on there for this month, I guess. The girls took care of that one for me. If you go to page 3, actually, I just have a couple of things on your fire and EMS responses. We're up again, we're up significantly. As you know, first page is 18, the one right behind it is 17. We're up over 60 runs from last year to this year, and also our transports are way up. We had 81 transports last month, so I did want to make sure that you did see that. And then the other one that's really important to me is the one right at the bottom of that page, and that's the one that I've been following quite extensively, and that is our overlapping incidents, which means when we get one call, we get another call right away. So last year was at 60%, which was a really busy time last year, but we're still at almost 50%. So 50% of the time we get one run, we're getting a second run. So the rest of the next few pages are incidents that we've had, and obviously I don't need to read those. You guys are well aware of that. Community risk reduction and building plans, with having that 8-hour-a-day guy has really improved my ability to be able to use Chief Froelich to do some really important things that we haven't been able to get our hands on. That's on page 10. Page 11 was our Lucas County and our regular overall training. We had 580 hours of fire training in the month. 256 of it obviously was Lucas County EMS because we're back in our cycle. And page 12 would be my overtime, and a total of 124 hours for the month of overtime that month. So I'm very happy with the way the guys we seem to be working real well together to keep that down. And then the very last page is we actually have one of our, it's hard to, you really got to be careful with HIPAA, but one of our city council ladies had
a medical issue, and the guys transported her, and that was a really nice thank you letter from her, praising the guys and the job that they did for her, so that's what that is. And that's all on the monthly report. Any questions?
I have a question, this might be for you and Sammy.
Yes.
When do these reports hit our new system now? Are these going to be available before the meeting, that if a resident or we want to go out and look at this stuff, will this stuff be on like Tuesday or Thursday of the week prior, or when?
So before we switched over, it was always available, it was attached to the agendas, usually the Friday before the meeting.
Okay.
Now, they're available, I think it's sent, when do you guys?
I think it's the Tuesday.
The Tuesday before, right, so then they can be available Tuesday before the meeting.
Okay.
So it'll be available
before.
instead of Friday, it'll be available Tuesday.
Great.
So, yeah.
Chief, that's something for you now. I'm sure Nancy will help you though, I'm sure she takes care of that stuff pretty well. So,
Very quickly.
yes. Okay.
Nancy.
Yes.
We're both very fortunate, we have good gals in our offices, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Just
No
wanted to
problem.
throw that out.
I appreciate that. And I do have one resolution, Resolution 18012, is to certify the active hiring list for fire department. As you know, we promoted 3 people off our part-time list. The last list that was available for full-time, and now I'm down part-time people, so I'll need this to be certified so we can get some part-time people in.
I'll move Resolution 18012, certifying the active hiring list for the fire department.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, all. What you have before you is the monthly report for the police department for February. I'm just going to go through this briefly. I'm going to start on page 3, Scott. You can see for the month, we took 978 calls for service, 1,957 for the year, so we're pretty much on par with last year. What we have seen, the significant increase in this past month was the traffic crashes, both property damage and injury. And again, you can see that we are up significantly this year from what we were last year at this point. With the good news though, if you go down to the burglaries, you see we only had 1 burglary last month, and for the year we only had 2, which is a significant drop off from the previous year. Page 5, Scott. This is the DEA detective who's assigned to the DEA task force. Just the one thing I wanted to point out was they did hit a house last month, and they were able to confiscate $468,000 in U.S. currency there. And we will be getting a portion of that later on down the line. Page 6, the DARE officers and community affairs, they're doing their typical, they're going to and from schools at entry and when they're leaving schools. They've been assisting with taking reports at the station. They're teaching DARE now in schools again, and they've been preparing for the safety township in the summer. Don't need to go through the court fine costs and stuff, but I'm going to point out the overtime on page 8. You can see our overtime is very negligible. We had 138 hours department-wide, and 61 hours of those are reimbursed from the task forces. And lastly, on page 9 is our training. For the year, we've had 117 hours of training, which is, it's down significantly from the year before, but that's because there is no state mandated training this year. And that is the monthly report. You have any questions?
On the task force information, if it's in our area or jurisdiction, will you let us know that? I mean, one of the things we learned going through our interviews for the police chief was that, most of the work that they're doing is outside of our community, and I think, obviously, the new chief's going to take a look at that, but I think I'd like to know those statistics up there. I mean, it's nice to see what they're doing, and obviously, we're all a larger community, but where this is where our dollars are spent.
Yes, we can very easily do that, yeah.
Sounds great.
I do have two resolutions. The first resolution is 18034. It's the authorization to purchase 3 police vehicles. These are 3 SUVs that we had budgeted last year and was approved in the last fall. We're just replacing 3 of the older SUVs for the fleet.
I'll move resolution 18034, authorize purchase of 3 police vehicles.
Second. Mr. Genowine? Yes. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And the second resolution here is 18039. This is for the purchase of an additional SUV. As you can see, the new chief, he's not a small individual, and we don't have a vehicle big enough for him.
Isn't gonna work for him.
That is correct. Yes. So we need to get a bigger vehicle. So what we just planned on was get another SUV similar to what we got, and then that, if we need be, that can be absorbed into the fleet later on down the line.
I'll offer resolution 18-039, authorization to purchase a police vehicle.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
And as you point out, even with this vehicle, the fleet will not be increasing because the old chief's car, we move it down to somebody else and then move the car out, so it won't increase the fleet. Under Administrator, my first resolution is authorize pay rates for non-union personnel. We talked about this in executive session, and you made some suggestions. I incorporated those suggestions and passed the attachment in my administrative letter out to you last week. And with that,
I'll authorize 18033, the authorized pay rates for non-union personnel.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
then my last resolution is the approval of the 2008 funding for outside agencies. I put in the mailboxes the packets from all the agencies of what they requested. I also have a sheet that shows, I think, the previous 2 years' funding for the agencies and what they requested for this year. And then at this time, I'll open up to discussion to the trustees for funding.
I'll make a resolution, but I prefer like we did it last year when we get a recommendation on it. There's a lot of material to go through, and you might interpret different than I do and you, but I did spend some time on it, but I really prefer when the administration, and I think it's best to have one trustee involved, come up with a recommendation. But anyway, I'll give it a shot here. Sylvania Area Family Services, I think we should probably keep that the same as last year. They requested $20,000, I'm suggesting $13,000, same as last year. Soil Conservation requested $6,450. The first time we funded them was last year at $500, and I would be willing to go up to $750. I looked through the other contributions, and we're one of the larger populations, but I think when you look at soil conservation, we don't have a lot of agriculture. That's my thinking there. Sylvania Community Arts Commission asked for $3,000. Last year, we funded them at $2,750. I'm suggesting the $3,000. I thought that was reasonable. That's a city commission, and that's probably about where, in my feeling, we should be on that. And then SCAD asked for $6,500. The year before it was $5,250. I'm suggesting $6,250. And then the chamber had a request, but they don't fill out the paperwork that we require, so I think we ought to pass on that one. That's a total of $23,000. And if you add in the fireworks, we're still under our budget. So I'll offer that unless you two have...
How much, now, the township is a member of the chamber, correct? What do we pay for that membership?
I'm not sure, but this had nothing to do with, this was just a...
Right, but I'm just curious how much we're giving them already.
I could look it up. I know it's not very significant amount. I want to say $650, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Well, I will get you that email.
You're gonna get an email from the chamber, they've withdrawn.
I mean,
They've withdrawn their application.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. I talked to her this morning, she doesn't wanna, they're not.
Normally, they don't like sharing the budget information with us, and they didn't again this year. So it's kind of hard to compare them, as
Sure.
don't have the others.
So John, for that $650, I'm a paying member myself, so how does that, is it, it provides anybody, any of our staff to go to the chamber lunch, or how does that work?
well, the chamber lunch, as I recall, you pay,
Oh, that's right, you pay?
you pay yourself.
Okay, so the
the-
$650, okay,
Is
got
is
it.
a membership.
Okay, got it.
And as I understand, this was not part of the membership, this was an additional
Sure.
request.
Sponsorship.
Yeah.
The only one I had a question on is SCAD. Maybe bump it up to 5,500 instead of 6,250. I mean, it'd still be a $250 increase, be the same increase that we gave the Arts Commission.
Well, I look at them a little differently. Police department, fire department knows our involvement there, but we've been giving them, if you look back, 1,000 a year. We're way under what the city funds. So I did 1,000 a year. If you look back, that's what we do. I don't think we're anywhere near where we should be with the drug issue. And I understand their education and prevention, they don't really deal with the drug problems directly. But I think it helps to educate our young people. But if you two don't feel, I'm just...
Actually, I had him at $6,000.
Okay. I'm comfortable with either one of them.
6,000? Okay. So let me go over these numbers for the resolution. The first one, the SAFS will be 13,000, soil and water will be
50.
750, Arts Commission will be 3,000, SCAT will be 6,000, and the chamber withdrew their request. Is that correct?
Yes,
Then I request a resolution to that effect.
also,
That'll be 18041.
What's the total?
Resolution 18041.
the total's 20, I think 22,750, I believe.
Okay.
So Mr. Crandall moved. Do we have a second?
Second, please.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sinclair.
Well, the month-end analysis, again, we're just kind of getting into the year. The interesting thing in the report that you got is that this is the earliest we've ever received the first half property tax settlement. We've received it in February, and so usually we're waiting until March, and sometimes it leaks into April, which is kind of interesting. The monies are being sent out quicker, and that way we can get it into our accounts, and so that's really all I have to report on the month-end analysis. If you don't have any questions, I have some resolutions, and a number of them. The first is Resolution 18-035, and that is we placed an order for rifles, as you can see, to secure a discount. And so we need a then and now certificate on this little over $5,400 for purchasing of some rifles for our department.
I'll offer Resolution 18035, approval of the payment of now and then.
Second.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes,
And then the next resolution is 18-036, and that's a transfer of appropriations. And we're just kind of moving some money around here in these accounts. It's a small amount, and so I don't have much more to say about it. It's just $1,000 here.
I'll move Resolution 18036, transfer of appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Next resolution is 18-037, and we need some additional appropriations in various accounts, and you can see we have reasons listed for each one of these. I won't go, through each one of them. We are just making some additional appropriations in the various accounts we have here.
What dues and subscriptions do we have?
Let's see here.
It was, the TMACOG dues increase this year. That was the reason for that.
Okay.
How are the election, is that a share, the election expense? A share we pay?
Yeah, that's something that they just deduct right out of our tax settlement, and I don't know if it's based on
But
the
it
number of
depends on the
precincts
number
or
of
what.
voters, is that how it's done?
I don't know if it's based on number of precincts or.
I think it's the number of precincts, very much.
Well, we reduced our precincts this time.
But the cost, well, there might have been a reduction in cost because of the precinct workers, but they take the total cost of the election and then divide it up among the precincts, and
Well,
then
we pay a share.
everybody pays their share of city, Sylvania, Review, City Toledo.
Right. What's the payout, so that top line, $7,000? ESID?
That's like that's one of the pastors, kind of like the tip. We had voted a couple of years ago, that one gas station down in the corner had some kind of special energy saving lighting or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
a port authority.
And so,
Okay.
We get the money in.
yes,
Yeah.
And then
it's just
it's
the
out.
pass-through that pay us, we pay, he said.
Okay.
I'll move resolution 18037, township appropriation from unencumbered balance.
Second. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And we have transfer of funds, resolution 18-038, and we need to make some transfers in funds with money coming in. We're funding some of these accounts that we now have money to fund them with, by getting our early monies coming in from the county and our tax monies.
I'll offer resolution 18038 to transfer of funds.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't have this, here it is on the agenda, but I don't have it, and that, so it's throwing me off there, and that. But this is resolution 18-042 in support of the Board of Lucas County Commissioners to enact a county motor vehicle license fee pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 4504.24. We remember at the last meeting, we had individual here, I've forgotten his name, from the county engineer's office, that was explaining, Mike Meyer? Yeah.
No, Mike Panuski.
Oh, Mike, is he here?
No, but we have, let me bring Jeff up. Jeff's
Oh, Jeff, okay. Well, that's up to the trustees if they want to have any comment from the engineer's office about what they plan to do with the $5 additional fee. Mr. Genowine couldn't make last meeting.
I had the opportunity to speak with Jeff before the meeting, and he was able to answer most of my questions, and I'm prepared to support it.
Okay, well then, we just need someone, if we have any
I'll
other
make the motion.
questions.
Resolution 18042 in support of the Board of Lucas County Commissioners to enact a county motor vehicle license plate fee pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 4404.24.
I think it's 4504.24.
Oh, did I read it wrong? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but, so, we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
That's all I have.
That brings us to open discussion.
Correct.
You guys know, I met with the prosecutor yesterday regarding the Sage Yard and the conflict of interest with the attorneys. We had a pretty good understanding of where things were at. I did have some questions for you, Mr. Simcoe, that you might be able to follow up with your board members. It seems routinely that Sylvania Rec has over $1 million in other expenses on their annual audited financials. As you know, I've hired an attorney looking for that information, that I can verify what that is. Normally, over 20% of the budget is under other expenses. I find that a little bit troubling, as this township itself just did Resolution 18-038 to transfer funds. As I reviewed Sage Yard's records, they have never did a motion to transfer funds. I would like you to see how that process is handled. Mr. Simcoe, you should be fairly familiar with that. The other thing that is disappointing to me when I reviewed their records is never once has Sylvania Rec or Sage Yard approved audited financials from their board and board meeting minutes. And I was wondering if you could follow up with those. As you know, I offered to sit on that board and to come to resolution on many of these things. I'm very happy that you are doing that, because you have sat in this position for, over 16 years, Dave, at the township? So you should have... Pardon? Approaching that. Okay. I mean, and you've done a great job for us here, so I'm hoping that you can follow up on these items. And there are other things that I'll be following up on as well. And I am very disappointed that when the Sylvania Rec and Sage Yard came in and gave their presentation back in June, they didn't mention that Mr. Catafias pulled out $530-some thousand.
Excuse me, I think it's a good time to read what I'm about to read.
Okay.
Based on our legal counsel, and you guys both have got copies of this email. Hold on, I'm the chairman, I get to say what's true and what needs to be said. The one thing is, one of the things that's not an email, you guys may want to check with legal counsel on this, is we cannot bring up names on the DIAS that is pertaining to this particular issue. So I'm going to read the email dated Sunday, March 11th, 2018. And again, you guys have copies of this, so. We need, and this is from our legal counsel, we need to raise some legal questions, or excuse me, we do need to raise some legal concerns we have regarding the Sage Yard, Sylvania Rec, and Tamara Shanner matter. This matter has been going on for over 2 years. The allegations that we have heard include serious fiscal lapses and even criminal conduct. Townships have no legal ability to investigate or resolve these type of issues. We've mentioned this more, this is off the email, and I'll read the second email in a second. But we've talked about this, we've made a motion. Mr. Crandall, I apologize for interrupting you and saying over you when you wanted to put it on, but I feel this is necessary that this is to be brought out, because we don't have any legal issue as a township. And we're no longer to be sitting up here and talking about it anymore when it's not a legal issue. Secondly, this is from our legal counsel. Additionally, we are concerned about the potential liability of the township. As we have repeatedly advised, the township has no supervisory authority over these organizations, nor the authority to investigate them. Therefore, if these allegations are made by the trustees, especially at a meeting, it is possible that the township, as well as the individual trustee, can be liable for libel and/or slander. I don't know what else we can do or say to be any more direct than we're done talking about this.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to have your attorney and do what you want. Our legal counsel wrote this. It's on paper. It's public document. I've tried telling you that for a year about this.
But Neil,
And we're done talking.
I met with the prosecutor yesterday, and we'll be moving forward with a few things.
Perfect.
But, I do have, again, why do we appoint 3 board members, and why is it a requirement that one of the elected officials sit on this board if we have nothing to do
I'm not
with
an
it?
attorney. I can't answer.
Well, can we have our attorney get us that opinion?
Actually, what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna ask our attorney, because we've been told not to ask our attorney. You're more than welcome to ask your attorney. Well, we've been advised to not pursue this any further. I'm not sure what else I can say, or how, and say it another way.
I have one comment, you two are ready.
Please.
I'm not going to participate in this because, as I said earlier, this is not a township matter. I don't want to, sir. I don't believe this is a township matter. I did not know that you met with the prosecutor. There's one email there I haven't seen. To me, whatever the issue is, it's not a township matter, and I won't participate tonight in any discussion.
And John, what you believe it doesn't really matter, because we now have a legal document, Mr. Crandall, that states we can't talk about it. Whether I believe or what you believe or what Mr. Genowine believes, the bottom line is our attorneys told us to keep our mouth shut. And I think it's pretty fair to, I don't know how more explicit they can be in their direction of how they want us to handle this. But I will go one step further on this future discussion, because we're going to have an executive session next Tuesday in how our emails and communications are handled. We have talked about this in executive session in the past. We have a protocol or a procedure guideline for our staff within the township on how things are handled in copies and emails. So I'm proposing, with your help, Mr. Zeitler, and the trustees, to maybe provide some information to you by next Tuesday, if that's okay with you guys, but policies and procedures on how we handle internal communications within our department heads, whether verbally or email, so we all are kind of on the same page and know exactly what's going on with each other. And I have absolutely no problem myself agreeing to that, if you two would agree to that this evening, to go ahead and move forward with that.
Well, is that in response to Mr. Zeitler's email saying that this is the procedure we'll be following forward
No.
with DMC? When did you send that, yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But no, this is just in general and if I ask Darrell to do something that he thinks maybe you guys should know about, a good example might be is we get emails every day, like this complaint that we got from Mr. Taransky. Sometimes I might contact you, and sometimes he might contact you, but we don't have any internal, communication as who's handling these complaints. Hopefully we don't get too many complaints. But this is one of the things that I want to see us streamline, Mr. Taransky, to help dial this in, so we can be more on top of things. So that is one example. Well, the other example would be is if I ask Chief Redding, Deputy Chief Redding, to go do something that maybe it's only benefiting myself personally, but I think Mr. Redding needs to let the rest of the trustees know, and David Simcoe, what's going on with what's my request. And I think it's only fair that you may say to email it and copy these guys with what the emails are going on, but your own township manual has that in place. We as elected officials don't have that in place. And my concern with the paragraphs that I've just read to you, I just want to get our ducks in a row to make sure we have a policy and a procedure to make sure that we're doing things the proper way as elected officials for our citizens.
And if you're hiding something out there, I want a procedure in place that we're going to find it and make sure that it's clear.
Of course. Sure.
Well, I was surprised that Mr. Crandall had our prosecuting attorney respond for him, so we'll follow up on that next week when this procedure's in place.
Well, it's in place. We got till next Tuesday. We'll have an executive session. Following Tuesday, just get everything to John. If you get everything to you next Tuesday, is that okay with you two? Can we get that handled?
You have a special meeting next Tuesday?
No, we could just save it for the next trustee meeting, but I have some thoughts. Maybe Mr. Crandall, Mr. Genowine had some thoughts as to how we can communicate and make sure that our staff is getting what they need.
Compile that data for the next meeting.
Yeah, so everybody's copied.
I got you.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here on the 3rd.
Okay.
That is spring break for my kids.
We can push it.
If you guys want to go ahead and push it, from what I've seen from Mr. Zeitler's email, I'm on board with that procedure.
Okay.
I appreciate you letting me get those concerns out, Dave. I'll follow up with you with an email and hopefully to other board members too.
John, I don't see myself, you can do that, you can ask those questions.
Well, I'm asking you as a board member, and I wanted to do it in public, and that's why I did it here.
But that is something that you can ask them yourself. I don't think that...
Well, so you're a board member.
Officer or a trustee or a board member of SAGART.
Yeah.
You can request that information directly from SAGART.
I will.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Anything else for the good of the cause here? And I lost my... Oh, hey, you know what? Bud Crosby, I missed you.
Yes, you did.
Sorry. Is there something you'd like to say?
Yes, more than I should, but one question.
All right, come on up to the dais. Please, and I
But I
apologize.
want to speak loudly enough so that everyone can hear me.
I apologize for missing you.
That's okay. My particular question,
James Crosby, Westbourne Road, Swaney Township. My particular question was for a resolution that was offered up earlier, 18033, with retroactive pay rates increases for non-union employees. In the online documentation that I saw available, it referenced the additional pages to the resolution. That was not published.
That'll be up there tonight.
That's what I understand, as the question was answered earlier. But I just was wondering what is going to be included. What will I expect to see there in the future?
I don't think pay raises are, would be out there.
It was an issue, I understand it's an issue discussed thoroughly in your executive sessions that you had. But I do understand that this information will become public record and will be available. And so that's why I was wondering why it wasn't available before the resolution, as discussed in executive session, was passed here tonight.
Until it was passed,
We just passed it tonight, but
and then it'll be attached. Go ahead.
Fabulous. Thank you.
you're welcome. Have a great night.
And another, since you finished all the agenda stuff and open things, I think this board has some challenges to confront with this year, with the monies and the people, and I think you need to be on top of things, and I think you need to resolve this effectively without prejudice and prior influences that may be associated here. The township may not have some authority in issues, but it certainly has some responsibilities to the community.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. With that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 6:32.
Second.
Mr. Tenway?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
It's a good thing you're on my left.